filling the gaps, I just wanted to go quickly over the other alternatives. We have gas, hydro, coal, wind, solar, and nuclear. Now, the big problem, especially in Ontario, I mean with the blackout that happened 5 years ago, was that we lost all our electricity. The transmission line went down, that was it. And they really had to look at base load power. Now, base load power is a consistent supply of electricity. The difficulty with wind and solar, now keep in mind, wind and solar are great, but they're still in their infant stage. They're still new to the game. They haven't, they still need another 10, 15 years of research and development because, if the wind's not blowing or the sun's not shining, they're unable at this point to produce electricity. If the wind is blowing, and what they're looking for right now is a way to, today the wind's blowing while we have enough electricity. They want to be able to store that electricity and use it tomorrow when the wind isn't blowing or the sun isn't shining. But they haven't been able to develop that yet, but they're working on that. From a cost standpoint, as you can see here, at this point with solar and wind, the cost is quite high. We have nuclear, coal, and some forms of hydro at a reasonable rate, but they're all base load power, and that's the key. CO2 emissions, which is the key, and which is the greatest understanding for globally we're trying to reduce. As you can see here, coal, natural gas lead the pack. Wind is the lowest. Now, when we're looking at CO2 emissions, please keep in mind it's from start to finish. That includes the construction materials, the construction, the materials that are manufactured to go into that construction, like for a nuclear power plant, all the cement for the reactor site, for a hydro dam, all the cement and the rebar going into the hydro dam. That's all taken into account on these measures. Now, just want to give you a sort of a quick comparison. This is one of our nuclear power plants. This is a footprint. This is the land mass required for a nuclear reactor site. Now, if we wanted to compare it to solar, the amount of land that would need to produce the same amount of electricity as a nuclear power plant, that's the comparison. And for wind, there's wind. So it's quite a big difference on the amount of land mass. And that's where the biggest complaint is right now. Yes, they're clean. However, they are taking up quite a bit of land mass, farm fields. And unfortunately, they've canceled the offshore windmills at the moment. They're re-looking at them because they're a little concerned regarding the environmental impact on the water. And then sort of give you an overall, this is an American slide comparing the land needed by wind or solar to match the annual nuclear energy production. So for wind, it would need the size equal to West Virginia, and for solar, to New Jersey. There's quite a bit of land mass required for those two energy suppliers. Is there any questions?
S'il y en a qui ont des questions ou des commentaires.
I have two small questions. First of all, it's about when you talk about countries who produce nuclear power. You didn't mention Japan or France. What's the place of these two countries?
Well, Japan and France both use what we call light water reactors.
Because they have also, they use uranium.
Yes,
to
oh,
produce
absolutely, yes.
nuclear
But they
power.
used in, well, I'll go back to, France and Japan use light water reactors, which what happens is you have the natural uranium pellet,
But yes,
okay, and then it needs to go to a processing plant to be enriched.
Okay.
And it's a one further step.
It's another
And
another step.
another step, and
step.
then they use enriched uranium. That is why, since we use natural uranium, there's still enough fuel in their enriched uranium that we can use their spent fuel in our reactors. So France has all light water reactors, and as Japan. And France is about 62% nuclear. Japan is only about 30%,
Okay.
approximately.
My second question is about storage. Well, what we call residue is
Waste.
what
The waste is spent fuel.
waste.
Yes.
Yes. How do you store this waste?
Well, storage. Once a fuel bundle comes out of the reactor, it goes into, as I mentioned, a swimming pool. So it's stored in there for about 8 to 10 years until it's cool, and then it goes into on-site dry storage.
Not on the sea.
It's on the site. Everything is on the site.
On the side.
Yes.
Because some countries do it on the sea,
Yes.
overseas.
Yeah. Some countries. Well, I know in the U.S. they were looking at. I don't know if you've heard Yucca Mountain. They're looking at deep geological depository there. Right now, in China, everything's on site. In Romania, same thing. Everything's on site. And most of the power plants being built today, the storage will be on site.
What's the impact, just to finish with this?
Sure.
Is there any impact after years? Is there for people, for human beings, for human?
No, because they're all safely stored in cement, lead, steel containers.
Okay.
Because we hope by 10, 15, 20 years from now, we'll be able to pull the fuel bundles back out and reuse them, because research and development's come that far.
Okay.
That's what we're hoping for. And the nuclear industry, not just CANDU, but the light water reactors as well.
Thank you.
Yes?
The way we prevent nuclear energy in Canada, I have the impression it's a different kind of energy as in Germany, for example, because I know there people are really against the nuclear energy. They always demonstrate, and I think the government too, the past years, tried to put out of service many centrals.
Yes.
Nuclear centrals.
Yes.
Is there any difference in?
Oh, there's, well, yes and no. I mean, they're light water reactors, and their reactors were coming to their service end at the end of 6 years. So the German government was trying to decide whether they refurbish the reactors, build new reactors, and that's when they were looking at closing down the reactor sites. However, in Germany, they're changing their mind. They are now looking at nuclear new build, because the big issue right now is they don't have anything to replace it with. They need the electricity. It's inexpensive, it's base load, it's consistent power, and right now there's nothing really, besides hydro and gas, there's nothing to replace it. And so they are changing their minds. But you are right, they were looking at about 3 years ago to...
But you didn't talk about Chernobyl.
I'm sorry?
Chernobyl, the accident, that occurred in the...
Oh, Chernobyl. I mean, not Chernobyl, I mean...
Chernobyl.
Well, yeah, that was a very unfortunate incident, and it was a black eye in the nuclear industry. However, that was not what happened there was sort of a cornerstone of nuclear safety and instruction, because what happened was the political forces of that country shut down a lot of the safety features on the reactor site to run tests. And that's why the reactor overheated and there was a core meltdown. If the safety features were still on, that would have never happened. And that's why 3 Mile Island, there was an issue there. But the safety features were on, they did work, and no radiation leaked out from the core at 3 Mile Island. There is stopgaps. I mean, there's backup to the backup to the backup to the backup for safety features on the can-do. They can have the reactor shut down in a matter of minutes, safely, if need be. Sir.
Je vais m'exprimer en français. Est-ce que les pays utilisateurs de cette énergie nucléaire, elles font l'objet d'une inspection ou bien d'un contrôle de la part de l'Agence internationale de l'énergie nucléaire?
S'ils font...
Oui, l'objet d'un contrôle.
Oui, certainement. Tous les réacteurs ici au Canada doivent suivre les normes réglementaires de non seulement la Commission canadienne nucléaire de l'énergie, mais ceux de l'Agence internationale canadienne.
J'ai une question. Est-ce que l'utilisation normale de ce produit radioactif ne génère pas des risques d'émanation dans la nature? Sinon, est-ce qu'on prend des dispositions à l'échelle locale, à l'échelle de l'usine ou bien de l'endroit où on traite, pour contenir ce genre de produit?
Comme M. Moore a expliqué, nous gardons toutes les choses en storage et nous faisons de notre mieux pour contrôler tous ces aspects.
Si je peux me permettre, là, moi j'ai eu l'occasion de visiter une installation
Oui.
comme ça de production du...
55% and you said versus Canada, you know, that in
But-
itself, but really Ontario is kind of in it then.
But in all honesty, it's cheaper for British Columbia and Quebec at the moment right now to build the hydro dams. And I'll say this again. Whether we're in Ontario, whether we're in Canada, yes, I work for the nuclear industry, but we cannot put all our eggs in one basket. We would never. And hydro's the same way. They'll speak as well. They'll say, no, we can't have, 100% or 80% of nuclear power plants or hydro plants throughout Canada. We need a strong mix, whether it's hydro, nuclear, or natural gas. We need a strong mix. But in the sense of waste storage, the fuel bundles. We've been in business since 1952. The reactors have been operating for close to 50 years. And we have the waste for all of Canada, nuclear waste, from the reactors. You're looking at about a soccer field size, about up to the boards in a hockey rink. Amount of waste. Not a lot. Not a lot.
Il y avait une question ici, je crois, monsieur.
Yeah, I have two questions. The first question, where does the uranium use come from?
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan.
Yes.
And the second question, why is that despite the price